today's 9-race card. So let's get right into it. First race, maiden $7,500 claimers. They are all 3-year-olds, except for the 4-horse in here, 7/8 of a mile. Scratch number 2, Barbacoa, who raced here last week and was claimed. So by rule, he was had to be scratched because he was entered by a different trainer that doesn't have him anymore. And that leaves a group of 6.
Yeah, and it also, there's not a lot of speed in here. That's one of the things you notice. Barbacoa, I thought, would battle maybe with Rusty Gadget for early control of the race, but this is 7/8 of a mile, so, cheap speed doesn't generally win at this distance. This is a toughie. I went with Benzodini, who I did make the slight favorite in here for Steve Asmussen. This horse has competed at Saratoga Aqueduct Fairgrounds in Oaklawn most recently. I know he hasn't been all that close at the finish, but this is a huge drop in class. He showed some route speed in his last start at Oaklawn. He drops 5 pounds going from brother Keith Asmussen to little brother Eric. I assume he's younger, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay. And so, therefore, he gets a 5-pound break in the weights from what he carried in Hot Springs. And that Oaklawn form just reigns supreme here at Lone Star.
Yeah, I totally respect that. And he even, threw up a decent fig as a 2-year-old last year at the elegantly named BAQ, Belmont at Aqueduct meet. I'm going to try to beat him. I'm going with Rusty Gadget. I like the fact he draws outside. He's got a little speed. He did compete reasonably well against Open Company a couple of races ago, but is exiting a Texas bred race where he had the lead at 2-1 and didn't hold it. I don't know. Benzodini is probably a much more likely selection. Karakoram Electra, the dam, was a 13-time winner, made almost $500,000, but was exclusively a turfer. Karakoram Electra, the dam of Benzodini, only ran twice on the dirt and did not win on the dirt surface. So, and they tried this horse on the turf, but he just wasn't good enough, so they're dropping him. They're dunking him all the way into the basement to try to get a maiden win out of him. So I'm going to go with Rusty Gadget and hope that the sharp recent form is enough to overcome that. On to race 2. I think this is a good sprint. $20,000 condition claimer. You can get in here if you're a non-winner of 4, or if you've not won a race since October 27th. And there's a field of 6 in here and some familiar ones, and it's a good group. I like this. I like this race.
Yeah, it's a very good group. Algebra, I think he's the one you picked over the years many times.
Many
right?
times.
Because I've picked against him sometimes, and
I love Algebra.
Yeah, I did pick him today. Things not to like, obviously. He hasn't won a race since 2022. That, could be a big negative going for him. He's always loved Lone Star Park. He's a stake winner here. He's a 5-time winner out of 13. This year, he started the winter at Zia, and they ran 2 turns, so I got a big question mark by that. That was really odd to me. And then they've been sprinting him since down at Houston, running against stake rivals, showing good early speed. His final buyers, because he's been tiring, don't look that great, but he's cutting back in distance in a claiming race. I really feel like this horse, for course, is probably going to bounce back today under Stuart Elliott.
Yeah, I agree. Here's a handicapping question, because you look at the form since that tough allowance race with Alto Road and Empire of Gold last October at Remington and carried over into 24, and you think, is he gone sour? Is he over the hill? Or is he just wanting to get back into a level of competition where he's a little more comfortable at a track where he historically has done well? I'm going to lean on the side of he'll wake up getting back here. The last really good race he ran was in the Wayne Hanks Memorial here almost a year ago, or at least 11 months ago. That's the last time he really ran like we know Algebra can run. But that race with Josh's Dream and Zavala, that was a legit Texas-bred stakes sprint last time, and he backed out of it and ran last. But I'm going to give him a shot back on his favorite track over Northvale Road, who's making his Lone Star debut. You know, that I'm a Bling Cat that beat him down at Sunland is an Arkansas bred that's won 13 races in his career,
amazing.
including some here. That I'm a Bling Cat that beat this horse last time has made $271,000 and is not a stakes winner, so he's earned it one race at a time, which even in today's day and age is not easy to do.
Yeah, I thought Mark's Promise. My knock on Mark's Promise is that he ran so great at Delta every race of his career. Once at Oaklawn, he ran a miserable race. Then at Fairgrounds, he didn't run very well also. And it just makes me wonder if he likes that bull ring down at Delta.
Maybe.
That's why I made him a short price and a great, Broberg wins a ton of races here. I didn't want to pull the trigger on what might be a Delta horse for course and take the shorter price. And so that's my knock on him. But he's only run 10 times, so I don't want to sway anyone off the horse if they like him, because on paper, based on his Delta form, he's probably the one to beat.
And one last comment on this race. We can always get changes while we're down here, but Alto Road is listed as not being back on Lasix. He would have been off Lasix when he ran in that stakes race at Oaklawn, but he was consistently on Lasix before that. It's interesting that he's not back on it today.
Yeah, I made that note myself. I'm not sure about that one.
I put the old Beyer Fig question mark next to that to say, what's exactly up with that. On to the third, I should say. 1 mile on turf, optional claiming event for fillies. Scratch the 9, blame it on Midnight.
Yeah, I think the 1 Drenched is going to get to the front, and if she gets to the front, I think she's going to be difficult to catch. She was an entry-level allowance winner, just 2 starts at Houston, stalking for Houston's turf course, a decent pace, and then last time out at Houston, 23-2. That's unusually fast over that turf course, and was caught inside the final furlong. I think this filly's in excellent form. She is a winner here at Lone Star Park. She's won one of her 2 races. That was via DQ, but she was probably best that day. That was a pretty eventful trip. 3-time winner and only 8 starts on turf, and I just feel like the pace is the reason to lean her direction.
I went with kind of a closer stalker here in viewer's discretion. Sean Davis, the trainer, she's in good form. Obviously, she won an off-the-turf race in Houston, followed that back up with a turf win with a better Beyer Fig. In fact, that 74 matches her career best. Now, sometimes I don't like playing horses off their career best Beyer, but she's had about a month off, has had a 4 furlong breeze since then. This filly or mare originally, it was all over the place. Belterra, Indiana, Turfway, Keeneland, and then was in Southern California and competed okay, I guess, in the Maiden Cup. It took her a while to break her maiden, but she's gotten hot. So I'm going to stick with her to maybe get a nice little stalking trip. Another one that I think you've picked in the past, at least once, was Optimistic Cowgirl, who was on the outside here. 2 years ago when she won back-to-back, I'm pretty sure you had her both times. And she's another one that could kick in a pretty good rally. Most of the time she does finish.
Yes.
On we go to the 4th. Race 4, Scratch the 3, More Than Shaken. 6 furlongs the distance here. These are Texas-bred fillies. Non-winners of 2 in their careers, and they're in for $7,500.
Yeah, this is, I like Gold Memories the best in here. Off a really nice second-place finish, 2 starts back, at the exact same condition down at Houston. That was a really nice race. I like the comment, save ground 7 wide. I didn't see the race, so I'm assuming
that's an interesting,
from its
must have swung 7 wide.
Because he drew the rail, so I understand the save ground. I wish I watched a video. Did he swing wide, at the 3/8, or was it mid-stretch?
Yeah, I didn't watch that. Yeah, sometimes, he could have been hugging the rail at the top of the stretch and then had to go out around everybody. Or he could have,
which either way, it's a good thing on his behalf because, I remember Julie Crone once mentioning how difficult it is on a horse to run up the crown, even down the stretch. It takes a lot more energy than swooping down from an outside toward the inside post. So that was a really nice effort. The previous races were around 2 turns, and you can see really ran well there, setting the pace or forcing the pace. So really good form. The fact that she can't stand up on turf and she's ran often on turf really, I think, muddies up her form. So I like Gold Memories sprinting on the main track.
You know, last week, Cream Puff Reaper, who is the 6 in here and is coming back quickly. I mean, she's coming back a week and a day after her maiden breaking win. I didn't like her in that race a week ago yesterday. I think I picked her 4th just to kind of have her in there, or 3rd. I liked somebody else in the race. She was really impressive. It was a rail trip. She really responded. Won like a filly that was going pretty well. So strictly on the basis of sharpness, I'm going to reverse my opinion of her and take this 3-year-old filly over some of her elders, including your top pick, Gold Memories, being 4. I'm going to go ahead and back Cream Puff Reaper. I mean, in these types of non-winners of 2, you do have some lightly raced ones in here, but sometimes you get these horses that make a career out of non-winners of 2 races. And I really don't know what to do with some of them. So I'm going to go with the hot filly here, see if they can get another win out of her. Cowgirls Like Bling is intriguing to me as well. You know, this is a filly that 2 races ago ran last in the 2 Altazano down at Houston behind the rather talented Too Much Kiki. And now they're it's kind of like Steve's dropping a few to the basement today.
Yes.
So I used her 2nd.
Yeah, I mean, she's got a competitive number off that 10-length loss at Houston, but I like the fast work, 48-3 since then. And then, of course, the most obvious thing to me about liking her would be her only start last summer at Lone Star was her debut, and she wins by 7 lengths. So she obviously took a liking to the surface here at Lone Star Park.
Her dam, How About This Cowgirl, was a really nice Texas-bred filly for Douglas Scarborough. It was 4 of 9 and won 2 stakes. Race 5. 2 scratches. The 1, JJ Jazz. The 14, Terry's Drama Queen. 5th race, turf, 7.5 furlongs. Texas-bred maiden fillies. I think there's a lot of speed in this one. What do you think?
I think there is, and I made my best long shot, though it's not as big a long shot as I like to pick for my best long shot. That's a 4 Highlander Honey.
I'm on her as well.
This is, generally speaking, this is my type of horse. 2 sprint race, then a route, so that's always a pretty good angle for any horse. Moving from dirt to turf, sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't, but this is a really green pedigree. You see Dynaformer, My Golden Song, actually produces a lot of turf runners in the state of Texas. So I'm looking at, turf on both sides of the pedigree. Was 1 pace in those 2 sprint races, but they were pretty solid performances. And this is the type of horse that should get just a beautiful stalking trip. Jade Geldner does a really good job, wins, more than a share of races. And he's 60% on turf in a very large sample, which is a little bit higher than his overall win percentage. So I like Highlander Honey to post a mild upset.
Yeah, I do too. I noted the 2 sprint to a route angle. I figured you would like that as well. Brady Cash, both the 2nd pick of both of us, could get a pretty good trip here if there is a lot of contention up front. And I think with horses like On Wing, who has no staying power, but On Wing is interesting to me. I used her 3rd. Mindy Willis gives the mount to Stuart Elliott. This filly, was absolutely, she finished in the toilet last time, but did show some speed from the outside. Draws better today, picks up Stuart Elliott. I don't know how she's going to do, but she also, it's important to say, a rider came out in front of her at the far turn while she was tiring last time out and nearly dropped her. So that's why the drop back was so stark. So I put her 3rd behind Brady Cash, who could get a nice trip. But there's some speed in here.
The 12, I think River's End is the most interesting speed horse to me. You got a lot of things to like. 3rd turf start of the season. Really battled until inside the final furlong of both turf races at Houston. You get a rider switch from an apprentice to David Cabrera. You've got cut back in distance from a mile to 7.5, and you're going from a turf course that's generally very fair. Not that ours isn't fair, but it's more speed favoring than the one at Houston. So I really give Rivers End a much better chance to win, even though there's other speed in the race. I really feel like Karen Jacks, I think she won a race last night.
Yes. She did. A first-time starter outran a $300,000 Asmussen 2-year-old.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was a good race. So the Asmussen 2-year-old who came in from Hot Springs ran well, but he just got out-finished by a firster for Carl Moore and Karen Jacks.
Yeah, Carl Moore, he can pick them out.
Yeah, this was like a $35,000 Louisiana, actually a Louisiana bred who was sold at the Texas Thoroughbred sale. And another thing about the 12 here is one of your favorite angles, blinkers off as well.
Yes. That's a history. I saw a extensive study on this, and generally, long story short, blinkers off is a more profitable angle than blinkers on. And I remember when I told that to Vic, he was a little surprised by that, not blown away. He was a little surprised.
Well, blinkers on's, to use the term, sexier. It's more attention grabbing.
It is.
Because it speeds horses up and all that. Race number 6. All older contested this one, 1 mile. Scratch the 5 Hard Gold, who was my original top pick, stretching out from one-turn races. So, without Hard Gold, I scratch into Zaichi. You have, and have had from the get-go, Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah, I'm not going to let those buyers at Delta, even though I make the buyers there, I'm not going to let that bother me much. This horse, the Burlberg horse we mentioned earlier, was a Delta horse for a course. I got a feeling Sermon on the Mount does not like the tight turns there. If you look back at his races last year at Evangeline and Fairgrounds, those races win this race. He was in very good form last year. Was given time. He's worked his way into good form this year at Delta, 5th, 3rd. Then he gets a win at this same $5,000 claiming price. If I'm right and he doesn't care for the surface and won in spite of it, then I think the old Sermon on the Mount has a chance to pop up today, and if he does, he'll be tough to beat.
Well-traveled runner, at least through Louisiana. First time, though, here at Lone Star. I'm going with the 2. Technically, that's a Chinese word that's pronounced Zaitsu, but I'm going to go with Zaichi. That's how they called it at Houston. I think if I said Zaitsu, most people wouldn't know what I was talking about.
Including me.
This horse, stopped to a walk, obviously, was not persevered with last time out at Houston, and I don't normally pick horses that don't register a fig, but if you go back before that, when he was with Shane Wilson, I should say, he, was top-notch. I mean, not top-notch, but was good at this level.
Right.
At the fairgrounds. So I'm going on those fairgrounds main track 5,000 races and saying maybe he'll bounce back from whatever was bothering him that day, and he does have speed.
I noticed he was wearing front bandages at fairgrounds and running big, and then Steve, who claimed the horse, didn't put him on at Houston, and he just totally folded. I'd be interested to see if he comes out in bandages today or not.
On to race 7. Mile on the turf, first level allowance race for fillies, so they're not eligible to be claimed out of here. Scratch number 8, Dulcia. And there's a rider change for Watch This Money, Renee Diaz. Big field in here.
Yeah, I'm on the Broberg bandwagon, I see. I got the 6 Lady J for Carl again, maybe the 3rd time today in 7 races. Now, this horse's races, obviously, allowance races at Santa Anita in 2023, highly likely win this race. How do you excuse the other races? Well, synthetic and the main track at Oaklawn Park, which are far from turf races. So if you just isolate what this mare has done on turf, I think you got to really like her. I'm a little concerned at Hot Springs. This is another horse. You mentioned the Cravens horse. Went off Lasix, and Carl didn't put this horse back on Lasix today. This mare, when obviously she runs much better on.
Oh, so. You know what? I got more recent PPs than you, and I do have an L on mine.
Oh, good. Okay.
because
I
you
better.
had the PPs before they
on
went
the day
final.
they draw, yeah.
Yeah, so they did add the Lasix back
Oh,
for her.
perfect. Okay, that's good news. So back on Lace, that's another reason for me to think she might be able to get back to the form that she showed on turf in California.
She does have the best, for what this is worth, and I wouldn't base a decision on it, she does have the best career fig on turf of any of these fillies or mares in here. I'm on her bandwagon as well. I think, the trainer change, back on the turf, gets away from, these other surfaces she was running on at Gulfstream, and gets back here, gets here. She hasn't raced on this turf before. I like her as well. Missing You Crazy is a versatile type who I think you have to respect on the inside. And so, she's certainly one to watch as well. And then you have Wilburn's Classy Lady third. I have Resource for Steve Asmussen third. Remit, the dam of Resource, made $257,000. And this filly is a half to Reride and is a half to Finite, who has made about $850,000.
Yeah.
The dam Remit has been productive. So
you may get a
threw
square
Resource
price.
in
Yeah,
third.
get a square price
Yeah.
on an Asmussen, which is hard to do here.
And just broke her maiden on the turf at Houston. So who knows? This is a pretty good bunch. But eighth and final, we had a horse in somewhere. Maybe it's in the last two races. Yeah, it's in this race coming up. So I'll tell you about it then. Eighth race, 6 furlongs. Filly maiden special weight event. Scratch the 6. Rock Hill native. And, we both took Live Spirit in this race.
Yeah,
Makes
I did.
sense,
I love the race that she comes out. That's the reason I picked. She was forwardly placed, got shuffled back a little bit into the turn, and then just, gave way, you could say. But, hinted at talent, was bet down to 5-1. Now, Lady Moscato came back to win allowance race in a very fast time.
For D. Wayne Lucas.
Yes.
And there were a bunch of fillies, there was no heavy favorite in that race. There were a whole bunch at like 3 to 5-1, but still, to be 5-1 at Oaklawn first time out, against that type, is good.
Yes, yeah, that's real good. And she called. It's actually my Lee's Lock today, based on this same race at Oaklawn. So, I think that race is going to turn out to be very much a key race. 2 workouts since. So I just think off company line, Live Spirit's the way to go.
Yeah, I agree. I took her over Lady Athena, who gets back to the dirt, which I think is much more her lick. The one I want to talk about is Circa Star, number 9, 3-year-old filly. The dam, Silent Candy, happened to produce a horse by the name of Epicenter. This horse is a half to Epicenter, who was a Travers winner, I should say. He was second to Rich Strike in the Derby. He was second in the Preakness. Then he was injured, and hopefully he can have a good stud career. They were able to save him as a stallion, I do believe. But curious to see this. They're starting this filly out here. They've had her at LAD. We'll see if she can run. Yeah,
she's curious. She's bred to be fast. The Beyer par is 64. Nothing's come close to that in here.
Yeah.
This is a type of race I usually would pick Circa Star, a horse like Circa Star, because no one's even been close to the Beyer par. So this is a soft maiden special weight race. So if the money shows, if this horse opens at 2-1, 5-2, you're probably in pretty good shape. Yeah. Since Steve also trains the horse that I think will go favored.
Yeah. On to the 9th and final race. We've got a $4,400 plus carryover in the high 5. It's been hard to hit so far this meet. 9th race, $5,000 conditioned claimer, 1 1/16. Scratched the horse that was my original top pick, Absaroka, number 3. Also scratched the 9, Resolve Now.
Yeah, that took a lot of speed out of it, which probably helps the 4 Catholic Gilt, who led at Houston in this last start all the way into, the final 100 yards, finished second. The veteran was 9-5 on that day, wheels back for $5,000. He's been winless this year, but he's been running at a much higher class level in Houston. So 4-time winner at the distance, and gets Eric aboard, so you get a little bit of a break in the weights again.
You know, I went ahead. I scratched now into total surprise, but I intentionally, you know, when I pick horses for second, I'm prepared for the fact that I might scratch into them. This horse was very popular at Delta at the claiming box, generally always for $5,000. It was claimed for $10,000 by Broberg 2 starts back. The figs are pretty consistent. The horse has been a model of consistency as far as picking up checks. I'm gonna give him a shot and hope I can get a little. I don't know if you're not going to probably get any kind of a price now that Absaroka's out. You know, it's going to depress the odds of horses like Catholic Guilt and Total Surprise. And I just kind of like the horse's style, and it's saying something to try to beat Catholic Guilt at this stage. Asmussen and Broberg could have big days. Well, if they don't, we could see some really nice prices today. If they don't, because they seem to factor in just about every race, one or the other of them. So I'm going to try Total Surprise.
Or we're going to look silly. Either
could
way.
Be. So public handicappers like us had a tough time last night. There was a little run there where we both had a winner, but the first 3 races, I don't think we had a horse in our top 4 win. So that's weird that we can't isolate that. Early on, we were off to a rough start last night, but we did end up with some winners. But I'm hoping today we smooth it out a little bit.
Yeah, well, you would hope so. I mean,
but you know, it's good for people that like to find prices, and the goal is to make money.
Yeah, and our percentage of winning favorites is about where it was last year, which was a little low. I mean, around 32%, which is great. That's where you want to be.
Yeah, coming into today, we're at exactly 11 for 33 on winning favorites.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So we're batting 333. And it's not like the quarter horse meet where the last couple of years we've had a percentage of winning favorites have been very high.
Yeah, almost 40 if I remember right. So,
all right, well, day 1 of Extreme Racing. Nice conditions, really nice crowd filtering in. Be sure to wager early. Any day we have a lot of on-track folks. Be sure to wager early. Check your tickets carefully. And Rick and I will be back to analyze tomorrow, day 2 of Extreme Racing. Get in free tomorrow by bringing a Pepsi can as well. So good luck. And we will see. We're on a couple of interesting horses today. We're both on that Highlander Honey. We're both on Algebra trying to come back off a little, I don't know, dull patch. You know, we both like Lithe Spirit. So
I hope it's not a sentimental thing with Algebra. I hope it was.
Yeah.
Well, if he wins, it'll be excellent handicapping. If he loses, we'll just say our sentiment got away from us.
Exactly.
That's what I like to do.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for looking in. First post time coming up in 34 minutes. Good luck.